call the meeting, the committee of the whole meeting for March 9th to order, and we're going to start with disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof for this meeting and for minutes of the meeting at which a member was not in attendance. Seeing none, we'll move on. We have a delegation tonight, a citizen delegation. It's led by Gary Robinson, regarding the cancellation of refuse pickup in lane parallel to Discovery Road, Red Lake. So I'll just remind you, you have 5 minutes to do your presentation, and then also that we, as councillors, can ask questions. So Gary, anytime you're ready, feel free to start.
Well, I understood it was both refuse and blue box. Is that correct?
Oh, okay. It's not in my line that I just read, but I believe that
It's not in mine.
it would be for both, would it not?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not on the delegation. It's not on the delegation.
Oh, it's not on the delegation one, but it's with regards to both, right? Refuse rather and blue box?
Well, I'm reading the one that you sent to me, and I don't see any mention of blue boxes.
Oh, did you want to address that as well?
Well, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I would ask that everybody read this first, please. The letter that was just copied.
I think that was just
I guess that's correct.
Oh, we saw that. Yes, we got it. We all got it in our package.
That's it. Okay, I take it that you've all read what my concerns are, as well as the uses that the lane has provided over the years since 1960 when they established that road. And one of the properties, as a matter of fact, was built at that, one of the houses was built at that time to house the Minister of Mines representative here, by the name of Al Patrick. Anyways, this came out of the blue for us. We had no input, no discussion on it or anything else. I was kind of consider it a courtesy that you had some discussion with this as well, about this with us beforehand. The other thing is that this same, or very close to the same problem occurred once before, about 5 or 6 years ago. I'm not exactly positive what it was. And basically, the decision was made at that time with the previous council that there would be no, there would be continued pickups, as well as the lane would be continued to be plowed and maintained. If you look at the, I don't know if you want to, how you want to do this, but if you look at the first picture there, one that's considered number 1 and number 2, the one that shows the tracks where the vehicle became stuck in the portion adjacent to the road, and 3 as well. No, 1 and 2. That was where it became, the vehicle became stuck. The second one is the one that in the center of the road, where the inboard, the driver's side wheels were in fact located on the road at the time. And number 3 is the one that also indicates how far off the road he was approximately. If you look at number 1, and it isn't a real clear picture in any of them, to tell you the truth, but what happened was the vehicle was driven off the road. Okay? It was the second time it was driven off the road, and both times it went off the road was a result of the traversing the road in the wrong direction, the one that is posted not to be traversed uphill. Consequent to that, I inquired of the reason for doing it, and the problem is there's a problem with the steering in the vehicle that they use, And if they're coming down the hill, they have to take 3 tries, not 3 tries, but they come down and then back up to move over a bit, to come down, back up. If they're coming in the indicated direction for the traversing of that back lane. So my request to you is that, as per the last line of the letter, is that perhaps some dialogues with Public Works, Community Sanitation, the rate riders would provide a more satisfactory result from our point of view. There is one residence that does not have an access to either Works or Discovery. That is the only, like you suggested, we take it to Discovery Road. Well, basically there's kind of 1.5 because the driveways are both off of the back lane and the garbage is always picked up off that back lane. However, the one in the summertime is used, the other one doesn't have one on the Burke's drive side.
Are you open to take questions?
If you wish.
Okay, would anybody like to ask a question? Mayor Moda, go ahead.
In regards to Discovery Road, is there a problem with your property in particular with moving the garbage to the Discovery Road?
Well, it's a distance thing.
What would the difference in distance be from what you currently do today to a new distance of Discovery Road?
I would say at present it's 25 to 30 feet, and going uphill it would be 75 to 80 feet, I guess. But it's all uphill.
All uphill.
I mean, that's still an observation, not to be maybe considered, but it is. With the others, I can't really speak to the others to tell you the truth.
Fair. So, one more question. So I was thinking about what you were saying about the sanitation truck who we contract out, Chikuni Sanitation. Mm-hmm. You're saying they have difficulties maneuvering into the lane? I think I heard you say that earlier.
That's what has happened because of they changed vehicles, Packers, and the Packer that they use for that back lane, not the only Packer they have, but the Packer they use for that lane, the steering, I don't know if the wheelbase is too long or the steering is stopped before it can go any further.
So it's not just a weather-related incident you're talking about, like with snow or something for a turn. You're saying it's their actual vehicle.
Yeah, sorry. I noticed the other day, last week or whatever it was, they were coming up the back lane in the opposite direction of travel, and they took 3 tries to make that corner back up to Discovery Road from the back lane. Stopped, backed up, went ahead, turned, backed up, went ahead, and there is ample room to plow to make that turn in one direction. So it's not a problem. I've done it with a truck and a trailer behind it, 20-foot trailer behind it.
That's it.
Other questions? Councillor Paduch, do you have a question?
So this change was made at a request from the Chikuni Sanitation?
Can you answer that?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, so.
And I think, I know the one that you're talking about, would that be Miss Gosnick, who doesn't have the access to Birch or Discovery?
This gentleman sitting there.
Oh, would be, okay. Because she's up on that side too, I believe, right?
Who are you talking about? Mrs. Costa?
Yeah.
I honestly don't mow there. I think maybe some of the kids come by or the grandkids come by and assist her with that, but she does not put hers in the back end. Because it's just a trail up from her.
Zach Alderson does as well.
I'm sorry.
Zach Alderson, he does as well.
Yes, that's right.
So
I couldn't reach that. I'm sorry.
approximately how many, no, I'm just wondering, how many residences are affected by this approximately?
1, 2, 3, 4. I noticed usually they come down the hill and pick up the garbage from the rectory, from the RC rectory at the same time. I noticed that the garbage was, for some reason, just knocked over and left. I don't know if it was done by dogs or coyotes or whatever, but the garbage is left there. And I think that they did come in and pick up Mike and Priscilla Weiss, but for some reason not that. Usually when they come down, they pick them all up on the way down. Okay, there's no coming in with the truck and taking just 1 or 2 at a time. Excuse me. But another thing that comes to mind here is why, if when they signed this contract, they were well aware of the fact that that was the schedule and the route that they were to take. It's been in effect for all these years, and they have decided, whoever decided this, unilaterally, without any input. Octoon used Discovery, that's it. Yeah.
How did you find out?
Well, he sent us to it.
Oh, you did, you got, okay.
Yeah.
Got a notice.
Well, I'm a resident there as well. I don't know what you mean by that.
No, how did you find out that you were not getting any more service? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
That
from
your
the
service was changed?
One on the Red Lake Levee,
Yeah, okay. Okay.
which seemed, this isn't really done.
Mr. CAO, do you have anything that you can add, or is this something that we can present and ask staff to perhaps look into?
Is that council's direction for us to look into this further?
Is that, yes, go ahead.
Can I ask a question first?
Can I see that?
What's up?
What?
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and I just want to make sure I'm clear, the difficulty is getting the garbage from your home onto Discovery Road, not versus the back laneway.
It's not peculiar to me, first of all. There's 4 on the high side of the hill.
Yep.
2 down below. One's the Catholic Rectory, the other is Mike and Priscilla Weiss. So when they come down the hill, they pick up all 6. Somehow, I guess they back in there if they don't, for whatever reason, they don't come down the hill or go up the hill or whatever they decide on that day.
So in the past, and excuse me for all the questions, I'm just trying to understand it fully. So in the past, when they've picked up recycle and refuse historically, there's never been a problem, you're saying?
There's never been a problem. This is the first time I recall the vehicle ever going off the road in my tenure here, which is probably since about the early 80s. So about 40 years.
So do you feel there would be difficulties, and we're talking historical change here, right? From using the laneway, moving the refuse to the curbside on Discovery Road. That's a huge problem, you're saying?
Well, traditional uses are usually upheld, and if not, there's some kind of discussion prior to it. Like this smacks of a backroom decision to me, and I don't think that's the way to solve things.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
But
Are you opposed to taking your garbage to Discovery Road?
Because of the layout of my house, I am, yes. Because the garbage, like this is a two-story house. I take the garbage downstairs, put it in an outdoor bin, and in the wintertime, in the summertime, you have to keep it inside in the same bins. And then, like I say, it's about a 25 to 30 foot walk down the drive. But I don't know if I made it clear, like, if you have a contract with somebody, and they are both signatory to the contract, which is basically, you have a contract with the ratepayers, and you have a contract with Shikuni Sanitation on behalf of the ratepayers. How did they decide to unilaterally change that? Maybe there must have been two heads got together and decided that this doesn't work anymore. After 60 years, the ground didn't erode that much. Maybe some did.
Okay, fair.
And you can't get a very good look at it here on this picture, but it could be possibly misconstrued that he went by the telephone pole and then took the ditch intentionally. I'm not saying he did that, but if on site, it's only about maybe 10 or 12 feet past that hydro pole that he went into the ditch. It's the same place that he went in both times, and both times he got out of his own. I don't recall ever seeing any town equipment there to pull him out, and I know that he didn't have any that could go down that lane backwards or turn around. So that's why I just, if the contract was signed and that was the procedure and practice for the last, like I say, the house was built in 1960, you know, 60 years.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Okay, so essentially what you would like is to have maybe some answer as to how the decision was determined in the first place and whether or not it's...
That's mostly used stuff for me. Like if somebody else cooked the deal and you are unaware of it, I don't know how it got on that letterhead. You know, and I don't think it's my business to know that. But I do think that you should know, and you should see what procedure was followed in order to send it out.
Okay.
And I don't think it's this person that signed this thing was responsible for it, which means that somebody, you know, was kind of taking care of themselves there.
So is this something that council feels as though you'd like to pursue? Mayor,
Well,
go ahead, please.
I think we can have staff look at it and formulate what's best for our residents in that entire area, and then come back if that works for the CAO.
Councilor Badu?
I have one more question to
Sure.
the fella who has no access. So what are your options for garbage or recycle right now?
Well, there's absolutely no way I can get to Burns, besides actually going downhill through the forest. The only way to do it for me would be to travel, I don't know, probably here to the gas station. It's probably the distance to deliver my garbage. Obviously, we'd be sitting out there. So, that would be the only way.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, do you want to have any other comments, or is this something that we're going to, as a council, will...
Yeah, we'll take council's direction.
Okay.
I'd like to, perhaps I'll reach out to Mr. Robinson. I think the assertion of a cook deal is not how we operate.
That was, I told you when I stated that. I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead and finish.
No, but I'd like to have a further discussion with you on that.
Okay, so you are going to contact her?
I'll reach out to
Mr. Okay?
And when, in the next day or two, or, like, I don't know, or do you want to send me an
I'll-
email or something, and
I'll send you an email and we'll set a time.
Very good.
Okay. So we're going to leave it, everyone's in agreement that we will leave it with Mr. Burnett to follow up on this? Okay,
Okay, thank you very much.
great. Mr. McDonald, do you want to add something?
Yeah, just sort of a little bit of history. Since probably beginning of January, I have called Shuni Sanitation probably 3, maybe 4 times when the garbage hadn't been picked up in the back lane. And a couple times, 2 times, they said, well, there's no answer, but the other time said it was later on in the day, like 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I knew they were not going to have it. We'll get to it, which they did, but the other times there's no answer, so that's probably 4 times since January that didn't get the point. And the weather conditions weren't the problem.
Okay, thank you. We're good?
Yep.
We're right- no, Okay, thanks very
Not
much.
good yet, but
Yes, okay, thanks.
thank you.
Thanks for taking, the time to come in. We're going to move on to, there are no. No, we're good, okay. We have no minutes of previous meetings, so we're going to move on to item 5.1, administrative reports, and this is the CAO. That's going to, oh no, I'm sorry, for 5.2A, the staff report, number BL 2004, regarding water meter installation, repair, maintenance, and access bylaw, and addition of set fines. So you're going to speak to this? And then if we have
I am
questions-
not.
Oh, the clerk is speaking to this. Okay, and if we have additional questions, we can talk to our bylaw enforcement
Correct.
officer.
Correct.
Perfect.
So staff are proposing an addition to the water meter bylaw to include fines. Presently, no fines are associated with the bylaw. Our only options right now are to issue a warning letter for noncompliance or to resolve the matter before the court for noncompliance. So we have no middle ground. So staff would like the authority to issue fines for bylaw incompliance where warranted. And lastly, staff are proposing a fine range between $300 and $400 per offense, which is at par with other Ontario municipalities. So I'll open the floor for any questions,
Okay, who would like to ask a question?
if there are any.
Are there any questions? First of all, yes. From no one? Oh, yes, go ahead.
Just when you come up with, I don't know if it's about the set fines, how do you come up with that number? By looking at other municipalities and going by that?
And the fines are listed up on the
Yeah.
screen right now. Yeah.
Because me just looking at it, some of these I would, I think 300 is a little low for some of those offenses that I personally think they should be higher to deter people from doing some of this stuff. But that's the only thing I just wanted to know how the fines come.
Most of them were between 300 to 500. The ones that were decently high, I tried to keep high as it was. Like the ones that I put 400, some municipalities had like 300, some had 500. And I was like, okay, middle ground, I'll put 4. But they are all in range of other municipalities, yeah.
So I have one question.
Yes, go ahead. Tell us the Fairfield.
As far as number 1 goes, are you going to take that on a contingency basis? Like I have personally, because I'm a landlord, I've had where people have left the heat off or have left the door open, and I've had to replace a water meter. Now, you're telling me you're going to fine me for that particular water meter. Is that a one-time deal, or is that, okay, you froze it, we realized you had an issue with it, you paid for it, that's done. But if you do it 2-3 times on the same property, is that when the fine comes up, or how is that determined?
We have to look at the offense in the bylaw to answer that question, and I don't have where, like, I don't actually have the bylaw in front of me to look at that to say where that would be used. We can look into the matter though and get back to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
only because I've had a couple go on me already, and it's due to the fact that I've had some neglectful people, and unfortunately, I'm the owner of the meter. So I'm just wondering, like, when does the fine actually occur?
And it depends on the severity of the situation as well. Right now, we are giving warning letters, and we would have to look at that particular case. Yeah, to determine if a fine should be issued.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Moved by Councillor Baduch, seconded by Councillor Butterfield. Resolved that the Committee of the Whole hereby recommends that the Council of the Municipality of Red Lake accepts staff report BL 2020-04 from the Bylaw Department regarding water meter installation, repair, maintenance, and access bylaw with the addition of set fines. All those in favor? Carried. Yeah, we'll move to 52B, which is staff report BL 2005. It's the amendment to working alone policy.
Sure.
The clerk,
So
okay.
staff are proposing an amendment to the existing working alone policy to include Schedule A, which is an employee check-in login form. The existing policy under section 9.5 references a written log, but until now a form did not exist. So we're creating this form so that our employees can use it when it comes to working alone, and it's a login form. And that is the only amendment.
And that's the only amendment, all right. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, then we will go. Moved by Councillor Christoph, seconded by Councillor Baduch. Resolved that the Committee of the Whole hereby recommends that the Council of the Municipality of Red Lake accepts staff report BL 2005, also with the Bylaw Department, regarding an amendment to the working alone policy. All those in favor? Carried. Item C, staff report BL 2006 regarding amendments to the ice road policy. And our clerk is speaking to this one as well.
Sure. Staff are recommending amendments to the existing ice road policy. The changes are highlighted in the attached policy for your review for greater clarity and implementation. With respect to item 4.5, where it says, "and seatbelt shall be unbuckled," we are currently reviewing that right now. And we'll bring forward a bylaw at the next council meeting, either with or without that clause, once we have more information. Are there any other questions regarding this policy?
Okay, so can I just, for clarification then, so the only thing that may change is the seatbelt portion, but not the window.
Correct.
So the window will remain all the way
Correct.
down, all right.
So
Yes, go ahead.
change as in like taking the, where you have to wear a seatbelt?
Yes, correct. Yeah, we're currently reviewing the Highway Traffic Act to see how that applies to the ice road.
Any other questions? All right. Moved by Councillor Butterfield, seconded by Councillor Christoph. Resolved that the Committee of the Whole hereby recommends that the Council of the Municipality of Red Lake accepts staff report BL 2006, Bylaw Department regarding amendments to the ice road policy. All those in favor? Carried.
Thanks, Jessica.
Yes, thank you. Item 5.2D, staff report. Clerk 2020-03 regarding code of conduct, members of council, and local boards and committees. So pass it over to you again.
So staff are proposing the adoption of a code of conduct for members of council and local boards and committees. We currently have a code of conduct for council, but it does not apply to local boards and committees, and by legislation, we are mandated to do so. And also our current code of conduct does not include all the prescribed subject matters. Therefore, we are basically in non-compliance with the legislation. So that's why we need to update our code of conduct. Just a note of interest, the code of conduct does not apply to the library board members or the police services board members. I can't speak to the library board, but I know the police services board members have a code of conduct, and it's under the Police Services Act. I'd also like to mention that staff have included a guide on conflict of interest matters. It's strictly a guide for council just to assist you and local board members and committees on when to self-declare a conflict of interest. We've also included an informal complaint mechanism that, should a matter be very, not very serious, and there's a way to mitigate that there's that mechanism to do so, and as a last resort, go to the Integrity Commissioner. Paul Hain, who is our Integrity Commissioner, will be coming to the Municipality of Red Lake sometime in April or May to provide training on the Code of Conduct and Conflict of Interest to members of Council and to local boards and committees as well. So if Council is in favor of this, this will move forward to the March 16th Council meeting. If there's any questions?
Does anyone have any questions? With regards to Mr. Hain coming up, then that will be for existing councillors, but so the other boards will be invited? Is that
Correct.
what the plan is?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and this policy, once approved, will be distributed to all the boards and committees that are captured.
All right. No other questions? Okay. Moved by Councillor Christoph, seconded by Councillor Baduch. Resolved that the Committee of the Whole hereby recommends that the Council of the Municipality of Red Lake accept staff report Clerk 2020-03 Administration Department regarding a code of conduct for members of Council and local boards and committees. All those in favor? Carried. Right, we move to E, staff report. The clerk is up again, 2020-04 regarding Integrity Commissioner Protocol.
So staff are proposing the adoption of an Integrity Commissioner Protocol. Basically, this protocol aligns with sections 223.3 through to 223.8 of the Municipal Act, and it's just basically a guiding document, and it follows the Act pretty much verbatim. So,
Questions? Pretty straightforward. All right. Moved by Councillor Butterfield, seconded by Councillor Baduch. Resolved that the Committee of the Whole hereby recommends that the Council of the Municipality of Red Lake accepts staff report Clerk 2020-04, the Administration Department, regarding the Integrity Commissioner Protocol. All those in favor? Carried. And we have one more. This is staff report, also Clerk 2020-05, regarding Integrity Commissioner Agreement.
So staff are proposing approval of a new agreement with Paul Hain, our Integrity Commissioner. Basically, the role of the Integrity Commissioner has expanded to include investigations of alleged breaches of the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, and his agreement does not reflect that. And it also doesn't include enforcement for local boards and committees, so we had to update the agreement as well. So we've extended his term to December 31st, 2022, with an option to renew for a 4-year term. The retainer fee and all other incidental fees remain status quo.
Any questions? All right. Moved by, this one?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Councillor Baduch, and seconded by Councillor Butterfield. Resolved that the Committee of the Whole hereby recommends that the Council of the Municipality of Red Lake accepts staff report Clerk 2020-05 regarding the Integrity Commissioner Agreement. All those in favor? Carried. All right. Okay. Now we have no treasurer's report and no referred and deferred items, so we're moving on to new business. 7.1, an update on the OGRE conference, which is the Ontario Good Roads Association. Yes, and who's going to speak to that to start with?
I can start. Just myself, Mayor Moda, and Councillor Dale Butterfield attended the Ontario Good Roads Association And we had 4 delegation meetings. One was with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Topics that were brought forward were the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, which Red Lake has seen a decrease of 10% every year since dating back to 2013, and since that time we've lost over $1 million in funding. Issue number 2 was the crisis when it comes to seniors housing. And please, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Butterfield, jump in at any point. Infrastructure, we spoke specifically to our application under the ICIP Green Stream, and that would be for our project in the sewage treatment in Red Lake. I'll just make note that we met with Parliamentary Assistant Stephen Crawford with infrastructure and his staff. And some of the key staff that were there again were their policy director and director of stakeholder. And just want to note that following this meeting and the value of relationships and going to these conferences is the director of policy reached out and advised us that our application was not submitted, because that's what we were talking about during this delegation, and which she did not have to do. And again, that speaks to the value of relationships. We soon found out that there was a glitch in the system, and there was only a few communities out of the 400 plus communities that applied to this program. There's only a few communities that were impacted. We were one of them. We've since rectified that situation, but we did submit. There was just a glitch in the system. We met with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. We were supposed to meet with Minister Yakubowski, but he was pulled away to another meeting. But we did speak with their policy advisor, their Assistant Deputy Minister, and Director of Policy. And we spoke specifically to Crown Land and requesting government to work with municipalities to open up Crown Land for development specific to organic growth. We noted that 77% of the vacant land within our municipality is Crown owned. And then another component to that, we're seeking their assistance is the patent mining claims, which is just over 19% within our municipality. The thing with the patent mining claims is they're right in the heart of our communities. And that leaves the municipality with 3.42% of the vacant land that's out there. So we're looking for their assistance on that. We also spoke to the Forestry Point and the future with that facility. We reiterated that we want to work with government in reestablishing a location when that time comes. We met with Northern Development Mines and Indigenous Affairs. Unfortunately, Minister Rickford, and the mayor can speak to it more, but Minister Rickford wasn't available. But we met with a special advisor. We met with the Dave Smith, the PA, and Michael Reed, who is the Assistant Deputy Minister of Indigenous Affairs. We spoke to legacy mines, particularly properties. We spoke to tailings facilities in Ontario and how they're assessed. And we also spoke to mining accommodation camps and how that fits with the definition of transient accommodation. And that relates to the municipal accommodation tax that at this point mining camps are exempt from. And then Indigenous Affairs, we spoke of the Road South, make sure that they're well aware of that initiative. Of course, we also talked about the REACH initiative and the importance of that to Red Lake and our region, of course. And that is it on those. But I open it up to the mayor and Councilor Butterfield.
I'll ask Councillor Butterfield to say a few words because all my notes kind of intertwine with PDAC and OGRA.
Oh, all right, so you can
So-
be there.
so I can kinda
bridge between the two conversations.
Speak out, so I can let Councillor Butterfield
Okay.
speak and then maybe Jamie or Councillor Christoph can speak about PDAC and then I'll go from there.
Ogre was definitely a very intricate part of meeting people and keeping the relationships, as Mark said. We ran into quite a number of different people that we've associated with in other programs. And they were well aware with what we were doing, what we were applying for, and they gave us a lot of information towards our goals. And talking to some of the people that were at the conference, them having the same issues we have and running into the same financial discoveries that we're coming up against, it was a lot of eye-opening chatter amongst us all. I was very happy to go with both Mayor Mora and CAO Mark up to the legislature. We did meet with a couple of people in the hallway, which assisted us in portraying what we need. I was very happy to go there. And I actually, walking around the displays, I ran into a lot of people that I do a lot of emailing with that I've never actually physically seen. And just looking at name tags, it's like, hey, I know you. It was actually quite invigorating. And the innovations that they were portraying at the trade show, Todd and myself, we walked around and we discussed a few of the things that they were portraying, had a few conversations about utilizing some of the new technology and trying to move our municipality forward. It was quite good. Thank you very much for helping me out.
Great, thank you. And Mayor Motor, or would you like Councillor Christoph to go next? No,
We can let
you should
Councillor.
continue speaking, should you not, on
I've got, all my notes are kind of, but I can talk specifically if you like, just about OGRA. To reiterate everything that our CAO said, we met with all of our delegations and meetings. They were all positive in my opinion. It was unfortunate we didn't get to see some of the ministers because they were called away to some emergency meetings that they had to attend. But it was very positive for us because on our way into Queen's Park, we ran into the Premier, which triggered a meeting that I'll speak about later when we attended PDAC. So that was good. I also ran into and spoke with Minister Lecce. I did a follow-up conversation with Stephen Crawford, who was the PA for infrastructure that we had met earlier in the conference. Had a discussion with Jen Bell, the Chief of Staff of Infrastructure. Sam Oosterhoff, the PA for Education. Also spoke with Chief Derek Maud from Lac Seul First Nation. And also spoke with Minister Rickford on the side about a couple issues, and I had a couple telephone calls from him during OGRA. So all in all, I think it was a fabulous conference, as to reiterate what Councillor Butterfield said. It gave us some opportunity for delegations as well as look at some innovation and technology. There was so many booths and things to consider, but when we're walking around these things, our CAO is always holding us back saying, remember the budget. So a lot of good things out there, but of course we have to be mindful of our budget. But overall, OGRA was a fantastic experience.
That's great. I'd like to just comment on one of the things that you said with regards to the fact that you were there at the same time as Todd Olson. And I think it's very important that we do have more than one person going to these events because it gives you the opportunity to have those discussions that you might not have if you're the only person that goes down and comes back with all this information and it's not being shared. So it's really great that we were able to send the people that we were able to send. which is the same as with PDAC. So who would like to lead off with PDAC discussion? Councilor Christophe.
So, sure, I can start off with that. So, PDAC again, so we got our new booth, which looked amazing. It was really good. A few little issues, but out of our control. It was good. We had a lot of people come by the booth. A lot of questions. We had a lot of people. There was a couple that came that just bought a house in Red Lake, so they're just stopping by to say hi. That they were renting, but they don't want to rent anymore, so they bought a house in Red Lake. So there was quite a few mining companies, junior companies, stopped by to say, hey, again, we're in Red Lake, we're going to be up there doing some work, and just asking questions about what's going on in Red Lake, what is there. So there's lots of that. We had a lot of, again, university students stop by. So we had a list of all the businesses, companies, anybody that was from Red Lake. We had a list of all their booth numbers, so we were able to say, okay, here's anyone from Red Lake, these are our booth numbers. So we're also promoting that as well, that anybody who was in Red Lake that was at the show, we can pass on information, or if they're looking to talk to somebody, oh, we're looking for this, oh, you should go to this booth, or whatever, so that was good. Mr. Babinski came down and he helped out at the booth quite a bit, which was really nice to give me some relief. But he was also very good, very personable, chatted a lot. I think it was very beneficial. It's still just getting Red Lake's name out there. We did have quite a few people stop and say, Red Lake, like, why are you here? Because it's a mining convention, and we're like, well, because we're promoting the town of Red Lake, and we do have mining, but outside of mining, this is what Red Lake has, right? So we want to say that there's more to Red Lake than just mining. Yeah, I felt it was good. We had the spot where we are is really good because everybody walks by there, so the premier, ministers, any dignitary or anything like that comes in, they always walk by our booth, so everybody sees the Red Lake booth. I guess 2 years in a row now, whenever Mr. Ford stopped by our booth to chat, I wasn't there, so I haven't had a chance to meet and chat with him yet, but anyways, I think it was really good. The booth looked awesome. It'll be a good thing to be used at anything else that we do for promoting Red Lake. I think it'll be really good. And so I never went to any of the meetings, but just when we're out and about, you go to, there's always receptions and that, you still get to talk to people and meet people. So it's good networking, it's good just to get out there and meet with other communities. Sudbury's nearby was behind us. Went over to where Northern Ontario is and talked with a few booths there, so it's good just to know you have questions, they can contact you, you can contact them, so it's good to make those relationships. Like, it's something we always talk about, that's always a big thing for these conferences, making those connections.
Exactly. Thank you. Mayor Moore? Okay.
So I guess the highlight, or one of the highlights, there was many highlights, but one of the highlights during PDAC was a face-to-face meeting that we had set up with the Premier during OGRA when we bumped into him going to our delegation with ENDM and Indigenous Affairs. So we had a face-to-face meeting with the Premier that lasted 30 minutes. It was fabulous. They wanted to know our reasons for coming, so CAO sent them an email to arrange the meeting, and when the CAO and myself walked into the boardroom, I kind of looked at our CAO and they had all of the REACH information on the boardroom table in front of the Premier, so I was kind of flabbergasted that they had all of this information in front of them. But the good thing is we're on the radar. So we had the meeting went very fast because the Premier was not very aware of Red Lake, so we had to educate the Premier on Red Lake and our contributions economically that we make to the province, and what this project of the reach means to Red Lake, and with the other initiatives of the road coming south and everything combined with that. So I think we had a really good meeting with the Premier. That being said, we also had some other meetings scheduled. We went up to, I think it was Wellesley Street or Bay Street. We saw a gentleman by the name of Jake Sikora, who's in MNRF, about policy. That's his area. And we had spoken again about the REACH program. We also went up and saw a gentleman by the name of Greg Gordon, who works in Minister Fideli's office for economic development. And we met with him again to discuss the REACH program. I had a face-to-face time with Chief Doug Riffle of Wabascang First Nation. We discussed some mutual issues, and with the Chief's request, he's asking that we can have an all-joint council meeting at some point in the future together to discuss our common issues. The CAO and myself had a 2-hour meeting with the OPP, Catherine Ross, Sergeant Catherine Ross, and I forget the staff sergeant's last name. Her first name's Lori, but there was 2 OPP officers there explaining the entire OPP billing model to us, so we have a fuller understanding and better grasp of what the billing means and what's in our control and out of our control in regards to OPP costs and what we pay. The CAO and myself, we also had a meeting with Pure Gold, lasted about an hour. We discussed some of those issues that we've talked around the table here already about. I also had a discussion with Mayor Bigger, B-I-G-G-E-R, but he's short, but his name's Mayor Bigger, from Sudbury, regarding tailings ponds. And that mayor is experiencing the same issues as we are and other communities, and he's suggesting creating a northern group with mayors to take to the Minister of Finance and Impact and all of the different agencies regarding the tailings ponds issues that we're facing here in the north. I was trying to keep all these notes in my phone of people we met, so I don't know if I got them all, but I've got a list. We met with Bounty Gold, BTU, Newmont, Pacton Gold, Sean McLean from ENDM, Sky Harbor Cypress, Frontier Lithium, West Red Lake Gold Mines, the Mount Jamie area, and specifically we're talking about Goliath and Red Lake, Premier Gold, Morgan Fuels, and as Councillor Jamie mentioned earlier, Premier Ford came by our booth twice, but he missed them both times. I also had a face-to-face meeting with Federal Minister O'Regan from Natural Resources and Conversation, or Federal Resources, yeah. Federal Resources, or is Natural Resources, I think it is, Natural Resources. And spoke with him specifically about the bridge and asking questions of any idea of when this is going to be constructed, because there's been no discussion from our end as to when this may be occurring. So he said he would look into it and get back to us. So that was a positive thing. We also spoke with John Mullally of Newmont, Major Drilling. The CAO and myself attended an invitation to Minister Rickford's announcement and the Premier's regarding the Ring of Fire, the announcement that they did at the Ontario Pavilion at PDAC. We spoke with Clifford Bull from Indigenous Affairs, Heather Mathers from Stantec, Fednor. We spoke with Brent Lundy and Amy D'Amato. I spoke with somebody from Wasaya Airlines. We spoke with the town of Marathon, their mayor and CAO. John Mason from Thunder Bay Economic Development, and Mark Wright, who's CAO of Greenstone. So I was trying to keep notes in my phone, but sometimes I forgot to put names in. But that's quite a large list for PDAC, and I'm sure there's more that I missed. I'm not sure if our CAO can recall any more. But the relationship building, the discussions we've had, the meetings we had were invaluable for our municipality and for our community to grow forward. So kudos to everybody involved. Everyone did a bang-up job at both conferences. So I'm not sure, CAO, if
just
there's...
reiterate what you said. It was, and Councillor Christoph as well. It's a great opportunity for us to have outreach to the companies in which are doing work within our municipality or close to our municipality, And it's a really good opportunity to extend that meetings with government. And I think you nailed everyone except former Laxville Chief Clifford Bull, who's a special advisor for Indigenous Affairs.
I thought, did I say Clifford?
Everyone.
No, you did say Clifford.
Did I say Clifford?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did I? Oh.
Yes, you did last.
Well,
this
I
is
had
too
him
big.
on one. No, great conference. It's well worth us attending.
It was. And just making connections, as Councillor Butterfield alluded to the fact prior to our meeting that we were meeting people going down the hallway at Queen's Park that we knew, and they were very open and warm to see us, I think, would be the correct term. So it's great building those relationships with government, which can only benefit us in the future.
Definitely. It's also pretty great that everybody was able to make the time to go, because there are concessions, right? You leave, you have to leave your family and
sure.
You two in particular, but also, for staff and for
Yeah. It's a long
municipal
time.
staff and councillors. Yes, go ahead.
So just to add to that, I know we've said it a lot about the relationships and all that, but it's one of those things that you can't stress how important that networking is. And it's not like you use the one where the called us and said, hey, your thing didn't come in. That wouldn't have happened. It's just normally it's say, well, too bad. You just keep on moving, but you make those connections, and then somebody calls you and says, hey, or hey, you know what? Heads up, this is coming your way. So there's a lot of that going on, and that part is, you hate to quote commercials, but when you say priceless, that part is priceless, because you hear things, you talk with people, you get those communications. It may seem like you're sending a lot of people, but with all the stuff that he read off, one person can't do that. And a lot of times 2 people can't do that, and do everything else that goes on at the conferences.
Very true. Any other comments before we close? All right. Moved by Councillor Baduch, seconded by Councillor Christoph. Resolved that the committee as a whole hereby adjourns to meet again at the call of the chair. All those in favor? Carried.